Good morning and welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to attempt to light the fire with this, the Grim Workshop's Hot Shot fire starting card. Brief bit of history. Last weekend I was at the Global Bushcraft Symposium and I won this in the raffle. Now, this is not something I would normally buy. Don't know how much they are. They're probably relatively expensive, and I'm going to try it out. This card contains a blade, a magnesium bar, a ferro rod and a scraper with a saw on the other side. I have not pulled it out of the packaging. It is still in the packaging, and I was warned that that blade is not sharp enough to make decent shavings. Now, I'm in a broadleafed environment and it's pretty dry. It's been dry for a good few days, and I know that I basically need a second form of tinder and some very, very fine twigs to get a fire out of this. Let's open it up. Well, I suppose if you left it in here, then plastic and paper, there's your second form of tinder. Yes, they won't take a spark from a ferro rod, but they will light off the magnesium. But I'm not going to use that because I like to make my life difficult. Okay, if it doesn't work on the first attempt, perhaps I will use that. Right, so here's the card. Apparently that is permanent adhesive if you want to stick it on something. Let's get it out. Doesn't want to come out. Right, so not very good with cold hands then. Don't know if there's a stick. Right. It's not easy to get out. So we've got a chisel grind on the blade with a bit of a burr on it. Right then. I'm going to sort my fireplace out now. I'm basically going to make an upside down fire. So I'm going to fill the void up in my fireplace. It's a small fireplace with sticks and stuff. I'm not going to use a knife, saw, anything for this fire lighting, just that tool. Now I'm going off into the woods. I'm going to find some really fine twigs and hopefully some second stage tinder. There's no grass here, by the way. Well, so far I've managed to gather plenty of fine twigs. I've also found some Japanese knotweed living down by the river, and I've got a few small twigs of that. It's not the ideal stuff. It doesn't burn very well, but it is dry and it is thin. And I'm thinking of using this peeling bark from very dead beech. I have used this before and it's not bad at all. So I'm going to peel as much as I can off this and we should be good to go. Basically, I'm going to make my pile of magnesium shavings on a small pile of bark shavings. Then I'm going to light it and this is going to be on the rock by the fire. I'm not going to put it on top of my fire lay because there's such a chance when I'm scraping the ferro rod of hitting it and it going everywhere. So I'm basically going to light my material, then put it on the fireplace. And if you're thinking to yourself, why don't I just use a ferro rod and no magnesium? This will not light with our little ferro rod, no way. Now at this point, I'm not actually convinced that I'm going to get this fire going with what I've managed to pick. I'm sure a few of you are thinking, he hasn't used the blade. I just snapped this off a tree and this is nice and dead with a good snap, so should be able to shave it. Right, let's try it. Well, I'm not getting much joy there. I'll try and split it to get a nice thin edge. I'm rocking it instead of pushing it just in case I hit my hand. Oh, it's small. Getting somewhere. I really wouldn't want to do this with cold hands. It's doing it, it's just very uncomfortable. I think it needs a grind on both sides so you can come in. Great if you're left-handed, not so great if you're right-handed. If I could hold this knife that way and shave it, but of course because of the single grind it's not going to work very well. It just digs in. The thing I need is a flame that'll last 10 seconds so I can actually light my twigs off it. You're not going to get a 10-second burn from a pile of magnesium. It just doesn't happen. It's about half a second and it's up. Right then, let's make a pile of magnesium shavings. Now before I light this bundle, I'm going to take the paint off the ferro rod. Now I'm going to treat this like I treat the Firefly from Wazoo. Wrong one, not Wazoo. Tortoise gear. So I'm not going to use the big flat edge, I'm going to use the thin edge. This is going to be quick. I'm not convinced I'm going to be able to light it. It's lit, and let me tell you something, that was not easy. That was really fiddly. I want to rely on that in a survival situation. But it's lit. Whether I could have done it without making that tiny feather stick, I don't know. I think I really needed to do that. There we are, it's lit, that's the main thing, and it's time for a cup of tea. And I'll get back to you after a cup of tea. While I'm waiting for my kettle to boil, I thought I'd share something with you. When I lit that pile of magnesium, something happened which hasn't happened to me before doing a magnesium fire. And that is, it smouldered. Now in the past, when I've lit the magnesium fire, it goes up and that's it. It dies. It goes up, you get about 1 second if you're lucky, a flame, catch the other tinder, and then that's it, it dies. But that went up, but a tiny little bundle of it, about a penny size or more like a cent size if you're in the US, was glowing. And I think that if the feather stick hadn't have caught, I probably had enough time to put the bark on and get that to light. I think I would have. So a bit of a to-go option there. Well, I'd say the magnesium is good quality. The ferro rod is good quality. They both work really well. The scraper, it is sharp, but it could be a lot sharper. And what I was finding, where the writing is, it's not sharp at all. So I think bit of abrasive paper, take that off, make a sharper 90. We've got our fire going with the Grim card. Now let's talk about this and ways to improve it. It's sharp, but it's not very sharp. It curled, but not very well. The handle, if you can call it a handle, is really small. Now I'm assuming the thought process with Grim is you make a handle for it. And that's pretty simple. You can snap off a stick. This is a green stick. Find a nice portion. Compromise the bark. and I was doing this just fine. It's a bit hard on the thumb. Same on the other end. I could strip the bark off, but seeing as it's green, I'm going to leave it on. Now I need to split it down. I use the thin end. Same process I used earlier. Bit of a rock to get it back and get it started. Hands there so I can't slip down. I don't want to go too far. We're in. So all we need to do now is secure that. Now, cordage, jam knot, constrictor knot, either will work just fine. And if you're wondering why I left it so long, because it's got less chance of splitting all the way if it's long. If I just cut it to there, there's a good chance it would have just split in half. So there we are, we've got a handle on our blade. Now one thing I'm going to say, when I was playing with this earlier, I thought to myself, it may be better if they'd have done a little draw knife. So taking the blade to be this size, put a bevel on there so you can turn it either way, hole on each end, and make a tiny little draw knife. It would have been easier to make shavings. So Grim, if you're watching, get rid of that saw because it's a waste of time, and put a bevel on there so you can use that as a draw knife, because that saw is just not worth the bother. Yeah, so that I would have as a little draw knife and scraper the other side. Keep the blade as it is, because I did find when I was doing that little bit of carving that I used that portion. So yeah, leave the blade where it is. Another thing I thought of was if they'd have made the tang square, you could have pushed it in a piece of wood, but then I wouldn't have been able to do them shavings at the beginning because it would have been too small. So yeah, the blade, as far as I'm concerned, can stay as it is. That's fine. Right, I'm going to try something now. I've been carrying this thing in my pocket or in my pack for a long time, and I was given this many years ago. And what this thing is, it's a repair patch. It's a bit like Kydex, but it melts so you can form it around things at a lower temperature. Now I seem to remember watching a video where they put it in boiling water. So I'm going to put my kettle back on, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap this around there. It's going to be warm, but I got asbestos hands, and I'm just going to mould it to the shape of my hand. So something new, give it a go. I put these on here earlier to dry them out. Right, I dunked it in my pan to try and basically get it flat again. Well, it's worked. I completely submerged it in water. Yes, it was a bit hot. And I have ruined it. I'll leave it go off. It's gone off. That worked okay. There is a slight bit of movement in it, so I think perhaps a couple of jam knots underneath it would have probably been the way to go. But it worked. The only problem is I needed a pan of water, and quite a bit of it stuck to my pan, and I had to clean it off, but it came off easy enough, so hopefully I won't poison myself. Next thing, I'm going to sharpen it up, and I do have a DC3 stone with me. Obviously I'm not going to be able to put a polished bevel on there, but I'm sure I can get it better. Better. Quite a bit better. Now if you're a regular viewer, you know where this is going. Yes, I'm going to get a flame. Now, making that knife gives me so much more options. I can snap a stick off a tree, dead one, make little feather sticks. Yeah, I can make huge ones, but that is so much better than just using the knife on its own, even if I hadn't sharpened it and there wasn't much of a sharpen. So I'm going to make a tiny little pile of magnesium and then see how it goes. Now this back edge has a burr on it. Doesn't want to play ball. Don't matter. That's what the magnesium's for. well, that would have lit a pile of very fine twigs. Right, let me give you my final thoughts. It works. You can light the fire with it, but you do need a secondary form of tinder to get that flame to light your twigs, because your twig bundle, especially here in the broadleaves and damp, it's not going to light from the magnesium shavings. The scraper's okay, the ferro rod's good, the magnesium's good, the blade worked fine. It did as much as I could expect it to do. Works a lot better on this handle. Yeah, it works. It's not the lightest package in the world, so if you were thinking of getting one of these and putting it in your wallet, it's going to bulk your wallet out, because it's probably over 2mm thick. Let's say it's not the lightest package. That stuff works, but only if it's plunged in boiling water. The chances are, if you're going to rely on this kind of tool in your wallet, you're not going to have boiling water. So I suggest some bank line or some gutted paracord with a jam knot or a constrictor knot. But as I always say, carry some cord on you. I've got a few. I've got about 8 foot of survival cord always in my pocket. Yes, glad I had the opportunity to play with it, try it out, do a video on it. Yes, not a bad bit of kit, but a bit gimmicky. What I said earlier still stands as far as I'm concerned. I think the saw needs to go, and I think a bevel on there to use as a little draw knife would be a lot more advantageous to the would-be survivor than that saw. I didn't even try it. I should try it really, shouldn't I? At least things can come out a bit easier now. Well, it will notch. There's not a lot of bite in it. I'd rather have that secondary blade. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate your comments. I do appreciate your views. And I certainly appreciate that thumbs up. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time. Ta-ra. I can't get this thing out. It's done its job. Fair play. It had gone right into the crack. Out. Right. Ta-ra. You're still here. Right, I'm going to talk about this stuff for a minute. I really didn't think this stuff would mould as well as it did. So looking back on it now, I think what I should have done was cut it in half and just used half of it over the little tang and the split. Well, my pal Scott has just turned up. Yes, definitely should have. And being this colour, could probably make fishing lures and things out of it. It's really good stuff, and I think what I'd do next time would be drill a few holes in it at certain areas and cut it up. Bit of string, tie it onto it, dip it in the water so it doesn't touch your pot or anything, because it will stick, and I think that'd be a far better idea. Yes, so it was my first time using this stuff, and yes, it's good, and I'm going to buy some more, and I'm going to buy some more which is bright like that. Thanks for watching. Ta-ra. Well, that's one deaf fox, that's all I can say, because he came down the hill while I was talking. Right, I'll put this at the end. I'll start again. Oh, do you know, I can never remember what it's called. But it is coming out. I'm going to pull it out. Maybe a bit of a job, I'll do that later. Yeah, it is grim. I like it. I'm glad I've tried it out. It's a gimmick at the end of the day, and the smoke is coming. I've got to blow my fire. Well, waft my fire. That's a bit better. So yeah, they work. That's all. Well, no, that's not going to work, so we'll forget about that. If I can run my finger on it like that, it's not going to saw wood.